Why are you here? My mom muttered, chopping onions without looking up. My dad chuckled. Didn't we tell you this year was for family only? I simply smiled, placed the gift bag down, and walked out without a word. 30 minutes later, my alerts lit up: holiday catering, cancelled. Vacation payment, blocked. Family Netflix, logged out. My sister messaged. Are you seriously? I replied. What got me the most wasn't the words. It was the way they said it, like I didn't matter. Like I was some distant cousin who'd showed up uninvited. I'd spent weeks planning this. Late nights after work, browsing through hotels, comparing island packages, double-checking guest lists with my aunt, who swore that the whole family was going to be there for the anniversary. And she wasn't wrong. The driveway had 6 cars in it when I pulled up. I recognized every one of them. Cousins, second cousins, even Uncle Terry's beat-up old minivan was there. But when I walked in, the only thing I got was a knife slicing onions and a voice that didn't even look at me. Why are you here? She didn't pause. Didn't even glance over her shoulder. Like I was interrupting something sacred. And then my dad, sitting at the kitchen table like it was just another Sunday morning, with a coffee and a crossword puzzle, said it. Didn't we tell you this year was for family only? That was the line. That was it. Not even a joke, not even a smirk like he was teasing. Just flat. Like I wasn't even part of that word anymore. Family. I had the gift bag in my hand. Silver, with navy blue tissue paper poking out the top. Inside, a personalized anniversary photo book I spent hours designing, a handwritten letter, and at the bottom, a slim white envelope with 2 plane tickets to Hawaii. 5 nights. Private suite. Ocean view. Spa access. Everything they ever said they'd do. Someday, if we ever had the money. I gave them that someday. And they didn't even let me get a word out. I didn't speak. I didn't ask why. I didn't explain. I just walked to the dining table, placed the bag down, carefully, like it was glass, and walked out of the house without looking back. My uncle saw me from the living room and started to get up, but I didn't stop. No one stopped me. Got in my car and drove 2 blocks before I had to pull over. I wasn't crying. I wasn't even angry yet. I was just done. Done trying. Done pretending like being treated this way was normal. By the time I reached the freeway ramp, my phone started vibrating nonstop. Holiday catering cancelled. Vacation payment blocked. Family Netflix logged out. And then the cherry on top, my sister's message. Are you seriously doing this? I stared at her text. Thought about how I just helped her refinance that $1,700 phone loan she couldn't qualify for. How she told me I was the only one who actually helps. Thought about how she'd cried when I transferred the deposit to her account so her car wouldn't get repossessed. Are you seriously doing this? I replied. Seriously doesn't even begin to cover it. They didn't know about the Hawaii trip yet. Not a clue. No one except my uncle, who helped me book it and promised to keep it quiet. I had planned to announce it during dinner, right after the toast. I'd even preloaded a video of palm trees and ocean waves onto a USB to play on their living room TV. That was going to be the moment. That was the plan. Now the plan was different. Now I was done playing nice. They wanted to act like I was just the backup generator that kicked on when the house lost power? Fine. I'd flip the main switch. And none of them, not even my sister, had any idea just how dark it was going to get. By the time the sun went down, I had the whole scene in my head like a movie I'd already watched 100 times. My cousin Jenny would have been the one to open the gift bag. I could just picture her, always curious. She probably pulled out the letter first, skimmed it, then paused at the envelope. Maybe someone joked, "Ooh, mystery gift," before she slid the tickets out. Then came the silence. Then came Uncle Mark, who was definitely on his 3rd glass of wine by that point, loudly declaring something like, "James really went all out, huh? He told me he booked you guys a whole damn trip to Hawaii." Just like that. No warning. Just tossed it out there like I was the hired help who forgot to show up. And my parents? I imagine my mom paused mid-bite. My dad probably sat forward in his chair like he was trying to catch up with what he just heard. And then came the realization, they just kicked their golden goose out of the kitchen. I didn't need to be there to know exactly how it unfolded. I'd seen versions of it my whole life. First the regret. Then the scramble. Then the damage control. But none of that mattered. Because while they were reeling and whispering and looking around for someone to blame, I was at home, sitting in the quiet, a real kind of quiet, the kind you only get when you shut the whole world out. I made one plate of food for myself, poured a drink, turned off every notification on every app, and put my phone face down on the counter. Then I unplugged it completely. I didn't want to see their names. Not one of them. I had no guilt. Not even a flicker of it. They always found a way to make me feel small, even when I gave them everything. And this time, I'd given them something huge. Something no one else had. A trip they talked about for years like it was unreachable. And they didn't just reject me, they didn't even ask what I was doing there. Didn't even care. When I woke up the next morning, I plugged the phone back in just to see how bad it was. It lit up immediately. 22 missed calls. Voicemails from both parents. 3 from my sister. The texts were worse. Long paragraphs full of warm words, emojis. "Sweetheart, baby, we're so sorry you didn't tell us, we didn't know." Like they could flip the whole thing back with fake concern. By the time I finished reading the messages, someone knocked at my door. I already knew. I didn't open it at first. Just stood there, watching them through the peephole. Both of them, dressed like they were coming from church. My dad held a bag of muffins, store-bought, with the label still on. My mom clutched one of those generic thank you cards people keep in the kitchen drawer for last-minute birthdays. They looked like strangers trying to sell me something. When I finally opened the door, they smiled like nothing had happened. My mom stepped forward immediately. "We just want to talk." I let them in, mostly because I wanted to see how long they could keep up the performance. They sat down like guests. My dad tried to joke about the weather. My mom asked about work. And finally, like I knew they would, they got to the point. She said it carefully, like she was afraid to break it. "You didn't cancel the trip, did you?" I didn't even hesitate. Told them it was gone. I'd sold the whole package to someone else that morning. The shift was instant. All that fake warmth drained from their faces, but they didn't say anything. Just sat there. I didn't offer more. No explanations, no reassurances, no apologies. After a few awkward minutes, they stood up and left without touching the muffins. My dad said they'd talk later. My mom gave me a look, like she was calculating something, like a plan was forming. I thought that was it. But later that night, I'd find out just how wrong I was. Part 3, Retaliation. The only reason I knew something was wrong was because of the tilt. My car didn't sit right when I turned onto the street. It was leaning forward, like it had dipped its head in shame. For a second, I thought I was being paranoid. But as I pulled into my driveway, the shine from the street lamp hit just right, and I saw it. 2 front tires. Slashed. Not deflated. Not low. Ruined. I didn't get out of the car immediately. Just sat there in the driver's seat, staring at the damage like it was part of someone else's story. But I already knew it wasn't random. It wasn't some neighborhood kid with a grudge or a robbery gone bad. It was personal. It was deliberate. It was them. There were only 2 people petty enough and stupid enough to think that would get a message across. And they had been in my apartment just hours earlier, all smiles and soft voices, pretending like everything was fine, because they thought I still had those tickets in my back pocket. I went inside and didn't even take my shoes off. I opened my laptop, sat at the kitchen counter, and got to work. First, the shared renovation fund. My parents had been talking about redoing the entire second floor of their house, turning it into a guest suite, maybe even renting it out for extra income. They couldn't afford the whole thing, so I agreed to pitch in. Quietly, of course. Every month I'd been transferring $1,200 to a separate account I set up just for the work. They didn't know the exact amount, but they knew I was covering most of it. Paused. Disabled future transfers. Locked it. Then my sister. She was 2 months into a new job she hated and barely keeping her head above water. For the past 6 months, I'd been sliding her $600 each month so she could afford rent without maxing her credit card. She never asked twice. Just sent the emoji with the little hands praying like that was enough. I opened the banking app. Cancelled the recurring transfer. Cleared the payment history. Unlinked her account entirely. That was 2. Next came the loan. She wanted a new phone because everyone at work uses iPhones, and her old one was embarrassing. I'd co-signed for her, got her the upgrade, and then, when she started skipping payments, I took over. $1,700 total. I'd been auto-paying it every month without even thinking. I went in. Removed my card. Cancelled autopay. Let the next bill become her problem. 3. After that, I opened every streaming service. Hulu, Netflix, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, Spotify. The ones they'd been using for years without pitching in a cent. They never asked, just logged in and acted like it was theirs. Family, right? I changed the passwords on every account. Logged out all devices. On Netflix, I renamed the remaining profile to No More Free Rides. On Spotify, I left only one user, me. 4. And then the contractor. He was scheduled to start drywall and painting the upstairs hallway next week. He'd already done the insulation and some of the electrical work I'd prepaid for, but I still owed him the second half for the full job. I called him. Told him to stop. That the rest of the project was cancelled, and I'd pay for what was done, but nothing more. He didn't ask why. Just said okay. That was 5. It wasn't about revenge. Not at first. It was about balance. For once, I wanted the scale to tip back towards 0. No more. Just help us out this one time. Or, you know how much we appreciate you. No more guilt-tripping me into paying for their mess while they acted like I should be grateful to be involved at all. I had one last thing to check. I opened the app for my security system. Clicked the camera footage from earlier that evening. It didn't take long. At 7:12 p.m., a car pulled up across the street. Not parked. Just sat there. After a minute, the passenger door opened. It was my dad. No hesitation. No looking around. He walked over to my car like he was grabbing the mail. Crouched. Stayed there for maybe 20 seconds. Then moved to the other side. Another 20 seconds. Then he got back in the car. They drove off. My mom was driving. I didn't save the footage. I didn't need to. Instead, I turned my phone back on. It buzzed immediately. New messages from both of them. The tone had shifted again. No more sweet talk. My mom, we need to talk. You're taking this way too far. My dad, this is still your family. Don't throw it all away. My sister, what is going on? Why is my payment gone? I didn't reply to any of them. I just sat in the dark, letting them feel what I'd felt for years. Unseen. Unheard. Unimportant. The next day started too quietly. No buzzing phone, no knock at the door, not even a single email from work. It was like the world had paused just long enough for something to go wrong. I didn't trust it. By noon I found out why. A knock at my door. Not the usual half-hearted kind either. This one was fast and sharp, like whoever was on the other side was too pissed to be polite. I checked the peephole. My sister. Alone. I opened the door halfway, just enough to block her from walking in. She didn't wait. Didn't even say hi. You cut off my phone payment? No lead up. No pretense. I told her yes. I also told her I cut off everything else too. Rent help. Streaming. Allowance. And that she should probably check with mom and dad before asking why. She looked at me like I'd spit on her. You're seriously punishing me for something they did? I didn't say anything at first. I let the silence stretch. Then I asked, did you say anything when they kicked me out of the kitchen? She didn't answer. Did you stand up for me? Once? More silence. Then she tried a different angle. Okay, maybe I didn't. But you think slashing your own family's tires is normal? I just blinked at her. You think I don't know it was them? You think I don't have it on camera? That stopped her. She looked away for the first time. Fidgeted with her keys. Then, almost under her breath, Mom said you wouldn't call the cops. That was it. I stepped back, told her I was done, and closed the door in her face. Not hard. Not dramatic. Just enough to end it. 5 minutes later, my phone started blowing up again. My mom sent another series of texts. Apologies, explanations, stories that didn't make sense. My dad followed up with some nonsense about needing to release the frustration. They were spinning now, grasping for anything that would keep me from doing what they thought I might. But then came something I didn't expect. A message from a cousin I hadn't spoken to in 2 years. Brandon. Grew up with me, moved across the country, barely kept in touch. The message was short. Hey, you might want to check Facebook. Uncle Ray posted something weird. So I did. Uncle Ray, known for barely understanding how to tag someone in a photo, had apparently decided to take a side. He'd posted a rant, long, angry, public, about ungrateful kids, fake family loyalty, and how even the most generous heart can be poisoned by entitlement. He didn't say my name, but he didn't have to. Everyone in the family group chat would know exactly who it was about. That wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the comment section. Aunts, cousins, people I hadn't heard from in years. All chiming in. Guess who wasn't invited for a reason? Thought he was better than everyone. Always flashing money but no respect. I sat there scrolling, watching the pile-on happen in real time. My family had turned on me, again, but now it was public. And then came the message that made me freeze. I think we deserve those tickets, not him. It was from my mom. Not to me. To Uncle Ray. In the comments. Under his post. Like she forgot for a second that I could read. I sat there staring at it for a full minute. Then I picked up my phone. Not to reply. Not to yell. To post. And I did. One screenshot. The plane tickets, full itinerary, total cost, $11,442.37. With a caption. This was their gift. They told me. Family only. Guess they meant something else. Then I turned the phone off again. Let them fight over the ashes. By the next morning, my post had blown up way more than I expected. I hadn't tagged anyone. No names. Just a screenshot and a sentence. But that didn't matter. The people who needed to see it saw it, and the ones who didn't were quickly filled in by everyone else. By noon, I had 20 unread messages. By 1, I had 42. By 2, I had a voicemail from Uncle Ray himself, his tone a lot less brave than the one he used on Facebook. He wanted to clear the air, said he. Didn't realize the full story. Right. The rest of the family chat? Imploding. Half the cousins were siding with me. The other half were pretending they'd never commented anything. Screenshots were flying around, and the group admin, my cousin Tessa, finally archived the chat and texted me privately to say, "It's a damn war zone." I hadn't even moved from my couch. Around 3 p.m., there was another knock on my door. Not my sister this time. My parents. They didn't wait for me to open it. They just stood outside, ringing the bell, then knocking again. Over and over. I didn't move. After 5 minutes, I heard the envelope slip under the door. When they left, I picked it up. Inside was a handwritten letter from my dad. I could tell he wrote it quickly. His handwriting was a mess, and the pen bled in a few spots where he probably pressed too hard. He said they were sorry. That they weren't thinking clearly. That it wasn't supposed to go that far. He ended it with a single line, "We've waited 35 years for that trip. Please don't punish us for one mistake." I laughed out loud. One mistake? I could have made a scrapbook of their one mistakes. Not even 30 minutes later, I got a call from the contractor who was supposed to finish the second floor renovations. He said my dad had reached out to him, offered to take over the payments. But the card declined. Twice. Then came the second call, from the cell phone carrier. My sister's phone payment bounced. The line would be suspended in 3 days if the balance wasn't covered. They were already unraveling. By the evening, my cousin Jenny messaged me. The same one who probably opened the gift bag. She told me my mom had called her crying, trying to get her to guilt me into restoring just the tickets. Said she could handle the rest falling apart, but that trip, that was everything. I didn't respond. I didn't even think about responding until the next day, when I went out to get groceries and noticed the side of my house. Spray paint. Not huge, but clear enough. Heartless. That was it. Red letters, all caps, on the siding near my kitchen window. Just one word, but it told me everything I needed to know. They weren't done. They were doubling down. When manipulation didn't work, it turned to shame. And when shame didn't work, they went for vandalism. I filed a report with the police, not because I thought anything would come of it, but because I wanted a paper trail. Then I called a painter to get a quote. It would cost $950 to clean, prime, and repaint the side of the house. I already knew who used to be helping me pay for house maintenance. And I already knew that, moving forward, Not a single one of them would see another cent. They wanted to burn it all down. Fine. Let's see how well they survive the cold. By the end of the week, the group chat had gone silent. No memes. No photos of someone's baby. No birthday reminders. Just silence. Like the whole family had agreed to stop pretending it was ever a family at all. I kept the voicemail from the police, just a courtesy call to let me know they documented the incident and would monitor the area for further reports. Which meant, we won't do anything unless you catch them red-handed with a spray can in daylight. I didn't care. The damage was minor. The point had already been made. I had the house repainted the next day. While the painter worked, I sat on the porch with a coffee, scrolling through old photos of holidays and birthdays where I was the one holding the camera and footing the bill. They always smiled big when they were on the receiving end. Not anymore. The final message came Saturday morning. My dad. A voice note, because apparently texting had failed him. He said they'd made a mistake. That they lost their temper. That I'd misunderstood their reaction at the kitchen that day. That it was supposed to be a joke. Then, after a long pause, he dropped the real reason for the message. We can't afford the Hawaii trip ourselves. It's not like we can ever do something like that again. You know this. He was trying to sound defeated. But I heard the edge underneath. The blame wrapped in disappointment. That afternoon, I called the travel agency. I told them the situation. Told them I had already resold the package to a friend. They were nice about it. Said I could still send a cancellation notice to the original guests if I wanted, just for formality. I didn't. Let them wonder. Then I logged into the bank and made one final change. I had a shared emergency account with my parents. They didn't touch it often, but it was there, just in case. Quiet, reliable. They considered it a backup plan. Something they assumed I'd always fund just in case things got tight. I emptied it. $12,000. Transferred to a separate personal fund I created under a name they'd never recognize. That night, I got one last text from my mom. If you don't help us, everything falls apart. She was right. The second floor renovation stalled. The contractor canceled. My sister's phone line was suspended. She switched to a burner she probably bought with the last of her savings. The family group chat never came back. Cousins started whispering behind closed doors, realizing maybe they picked the wrong side. And me? I started sleeping better. The worst part of all this wasn't the slashed tires or the graffiti, or the way they twisted everything to make themselves the victims. It was realizing that for years, I gave, and they only loved me when they needed something. Now they needed a miracle. And I wasn't in the business of saving them anymore. It's been just over 3 months since everything blew up. I didn't think they'd stay quiet this long, but apparently rock bottom comes with its own kind of silence. Then, last Thursday, I got a letter in the mail. Not a bill, not spam. Handwritten. No return address. The handwriting was shaky, looked like someone had written it with their non-dominant hand on purpose. Inside was a single line. Grandma wants to see you. She's not doing well. No name. No details. Just that. I hadn't seen my grandmother in almost a year. Last I heard, she was still sharp, still gardening, still the only one in the family who never asked me for money. And she never got involved in drama. She just watched, judged quietly, and kept to herself. So I called her. She picked up on the third ring, like she'd been waiting for the call. We talked for 15 minutes. She didn't ask me about Hawaii. She didn't mention the group chat. She didn't even bring up the tires or the vacation or the Facebook post. Instead, she asked if I'd help her with something. Not money. Not errands. Not even anything big. She wanted to sell her house. Said she was tired of playing witness to all the nonsense. That she was moving to a retirement condo downstate. That she didn't trust anyone else in the family to help her handle the details. I said yes without hesitating. The next day, my cousin Brandon called me, out of the blue. Said, "Did you really talk to Grandma?" I told him yeah. He paused. Then said, "She's leaving the house to you. You know that, right?" I didn't. Turns out she changed her will a month ago. Removed my mom. Removed Uncle Ray. Removed half the people who were still waiting for her to die so they could split the property like a buffet.